Good evening, beloved community. This is Penny Poole, president of the Gwinnett NAACP. Welcome to our general monthly meeting. And we are having a special event this evening. We will be speaking with our school board District 4 members, candidates who are currently in a runoff. So just sit back, relax. They will not be entering our studio until 7:30. However, in the meantime, we will conduct our our monthly business and get all that information out the way. Okay, and this evening in our room, we have Shaniqua Levin, part of our PAC team, who has been just doing a wonderful job. We have Secretary Adrian Johnson, and then we have again Ada Brown. Thank you for being in the room with us this evening. Let's call this meeting to an order. We would like to visit old business for last month and accept our minutes as read and approved. Members, people who are members of the NAACP, we will be happy to forward minutes to you to review. But at this time, we will accept our minutes from our last minutes as read. Can I get a motion from the floor, please?
Point of order, President Poole. I think we should open with a prayer.
Yes, ma'am. It's the big day. God knows we need to slow down. All right, then. So if following our agenda, please, let's go through the agenda. Who has volunteered for our opening prayer tonight?
We are honored to have our member at large, Miss Ada Brown, to offer a prayer for us this evening. Thank you so much, Miss Brown.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you for the ask. And I'm going to just do a short prayer here and asking and inviting the Holy Spirit to lead and guide this meeting. And of course, to always keep us on the path in which He has directed our task and ordered our lives. And so, Father, we just give you thanks and praise this afternoon for what you're going to allow us to do. And for those who are on this call and who will be on the call and those who will be listening, that the ears will be open, the eyes open and the ears hearing and the mouth to speak. And that what they hear, they will take into advisement and allow you to conduct our lives and our community. We ask now that you continue to bless this organization with the riches that it needs, the space that it deserves, and the people who are coming along to help the president and the board to better serve our beloved community. And thank you for the guests today who will give us their ideas about what they will do if they're in charge. In Jesus' name, we give you thanks and praise for what is about to happen now and forever. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Thank you for that. So now, if we would open up our meeting and accept our minutes from our last month's meeting. May I have a motion from the floor, please?
I would like to make a motion that we accept our minutes from our last meeting from May the 10th of 2022.
Can I get a second?
I'll second the motion.
Thank you. It's been properly moved and seconded. All those in favor, say aye.
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 And oppose. The ayes have it. With our virtual meetings, we are moving forward. Thank you for that vote. Secondly, our treasurer's report. This is always supposed to be acknowledged by our organization. Again, it will be sent to active members at your request. At this time, it has been distributed. Can I get a motion on the floor to accept our treasurer's report at this time for my last month's meeting? Can I get a motion from the floor, please?
I would like to make a motion that we accept not only our treasurer's report, but also reports from all of our committees at this time from last month's meeting that was on May the 10th of 2022.
May I get a second, please?
Second.
Okay, it's been properly moved and second that we accept all um, the minutes and reports from last month's meeting. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, the ayes have it. Thank you for accepting and moving forward with the order of the business of the organization. We're going to move very quickly into updates and announcements for Gwinnett County, Georgia. Again, the Gwinnett NAACP, we are happy to be working with and for and through the beloved community to eliminate poverty, institutional racism, and militarism. We thank all who are a part, who have joined this organization to help us move forward. At this time, we would like to get a COVID update because we want to make sure that not only are we being active and advocates, but being informative to the people of our county. I would like to welcome on Dr. Rebecca Mitchell. Dr. Mitchell, good evening, and thank you for attending.
No problem. Happy to attend. Yes, so I wanted to give folks a little bit of an update about COVID because I feel like in this moment we are getting a whole bunch of conflicting information about how we should be feeling about what's going on. So it's really hard for folks to know where we actually stand. So I'm going to show you a few different data sources. Let's see. Share screen. Okay, I think you can see my whole screen now. Is that correct? Can anyone confirm you can see my screen?
No, we cannot see your screen.
Okay, let's see. Share. Let's see. Window. There we go. Share. Okay, now you can see it, correct?
Nope. Now we can.
Awesome. Okay, so what you are looking at there is the graph of COVID cases reported in Gwinnett County over time, and this is total cases. And you can see that right now our cases are going up quite a lot. And indeed, although the previous Delta wave is much higher case number, we are approaching about the same number of cases, or say Omicron wave was much higher case number. We are approaching about the same number of cases that Delta wave peaked at. So there is quite a lot of COVID happening in Gwinnett County right now. And we're also know that we are underreporting the amount of COVID happening here because it got harder to get tested, right? And those PCR tests or antigen tests that you take outside the home are the only things being reported. So we know that about 15% of the PCR tests in the state database are positive, which means if that number is above 5%, we know that we are missing a substantial number of cases. So that is what's happening in Gwinnett County right now. There is another great resource that we can look at. So CDC has two different ways it's tracking COVID. This is a picture of Georgia from the community levels metric. And this really tells us how much stress is being placed on our healthcare system right now because of COVID. And Gwinnett County is in the moderate range. However, if you look at transmission, that's this graph, and you can see a big difference between those two graphs where actually the majority of Georgia has high transmission. And indeed, if we zoom this out, that's not unique to Georgia. Actually, the entire country has a lot of COVID being reported right now, even though it's harder to get tests now. So we need to be really mindful that it's easy to get exposed right now. So our precautions, if we don't want to get infected, are going to be the ones that we take personally. So vaccination, but also making choices like if I'm going to go pick up takeout at a restaurant and there are a lot of people there, I'm going to wear a mask. If I'm going to an event that is indoors and I don't want to get exposed to COVID, it is a good time to put on a good mask. And you can actually see, so here is the test positivity in Gwinnett County over the past several weeks that has gone up significantly. But one of the things that we are not seeing go up in Gwinnett as high as we would like to is percent of our folks who are fully vaccinated. And indeed, if we look at folks who've had their booster, we're only looking at around 40% of folks. So if folks want to get a booster, right now is not a bad choice of times if you have not already gotten it. But I also wanted to add an update, as well as the fact that transmission is high right now, is that we are seeing changes from FDA this week. And one of those changes that I know families like mine are super excited about is that tomorrow FDA is evaluating vaccines for the first time for children under 5. So that is a game changer for those of us with children under 5, that we will have the same tool that is being promoted for all the rest of us available for our young children. If those 2 vaccines pass review. And based on the data that came out before that, I do expect that we will see there was a lot of positive information in those reviews. So hold tight for folks who have kids under 5. Tomorrow we might see an announcement from FDA based on their review. And if we do that, then we are expecting CDC to make a decision later this week, and potentially there will be vaccines available for under 5. And I think the anticipated date is early next week, like the 21st. So that's a really big positive for those of us who do want to vaccinate our small children, is that they will now have access. Also, a reminder that things have changed over the past month. So the 5 and up are now eligible for a booster, and folks 50 and up are eligible for second boosters. So we do have a lot more protections available through vaccines right now than we did over the past several months. And then there was one more point I wanted to make there, but I have now forgotten it. But I'm happy to take questions if there are any.
Okay, thank you for that information. It's a lot. And do we have questions at this time for Dr. Mitchell? I have one. I know that when we're outdoors, people are saying that it's safe to be outdoors and not have to be masked. Can you give us an update on the status of outdoor events and the safety of that? Masks are better. Can you just give us an update on that, since things have changed so greatly with COVID?
Yeah, so I think, and I should pull up the studies so I have them directly in front of me, but I've seen some of the studies looking at outdoor events at things like music festivals. And there we are actually seeing that there is more transmission happening for folks who do go to high density outdoor events than those who don't, in the recent studies that were published. So it is, if you're choosing an outdoor event that is, folks well spaced in a field, that is a different risk perspective than a stadium with an open roof, or folks who are densely packed to be near a stage. So making a choice to wear a mask when folks are very close to you is always a good idea, even if it's outdoors, even as it's a lower risk environment than indoors, because obviously ventilation is better. It's not a zero risk situation.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that. We want people to make informed choices when they are attending different events and being outside, because we've been told so many different things. We have a question from Cheryl Brannon, who is eligible for a second booster. I think you just touched on this. So,
Yep. So there are a couple categories of folks who are eligible for a second booster. Everyone who is 50 or older is automatically eligible. And people 12 years or older who are moderately or severely immunocompromised is the guidance from CDC. And moderately or severely immunocompromised is a hard definition. I've linked it here in the chat that maybe you can add. But there are several categories there. So receiving active cancer treatment, having an organ transplant, receiving specific therapies, having primary or secondary immunodeficiency, unmedicated HIV, and active treatment with corticosteroids. But a great idea, if you think you might fall into the moderately or severely immunocompromised category, is directly ask your own healthcare provider or the Department of Public Health what that recommendation looks like for you specifically.
Thank you. Do we have any other COVID questions? And just to let you know, in case you're just checking in, we will start our 7:30 forum with the district school board District 4 candidates. And we do have another question. Or it's a comment. It was a comment that I wear my mask everywhere. Thank you.
Same, friend.
Thank you. That's a good one.
Yeah.
From Tanisha Banks, if you get COVID, is it true that you have the protective antibodies, and can I get COVID for the next 6 months? So is it okay to go on mask for that 6-month period?
So that's a great question, and the answer to that has actually changed with the amount of Omicron variants going through now. Unfortunately, the answer is no. If you've had one of the Omicron variants, it does look like you can still get another Omicron variant. And some very high profile folks are actually doing that because now that everyone is going to high density indoor events again without masks, they are indeed finding that you do not have a 6-month protective window. So it's a better idea to continue the layered precautions, even if you've had COVID within the past 6 months.
Thank you for that question. Do we have any other questions from our live audience? Any from our panel that's sitting here with us?
My question is similar to Ms. Banks' question regarding the booster and having had COVID. Any type of vaccination, I think, allows us to become more lax in our judgment. So it sounds like that you're saying that we still need to wear our mask all the time, everywhere, just to be safe.
I mean, I think there are two questions there, right? The vaccine right now is preventing most of us from getting very sick and ending up in the hospital. It is not as good at preventing us from getting infected at all. So for those of us who want to prevent getting infected at all, because we have immunocompromised family members, because we have children under 5, because we're going on an international flight that we really want to be able to get on, for me, preventing transmission has been really important because once it came into my home, I have unprotected children. So the mask at this point is the most sufficient, in combination with vaccine, you have a much better chance of preventing transmission into your house. The vaccine is preventing you from going to the hospital much better than being unvaccinated. But yeah, I am not the most fun and exciting person because I wear my mask a lot. Finally got some colored N95, so now I can be much more stylish like everybody else. Or KN95s, not the N95.
Thank you for that response. Our next question. What is your recommendation if a family wants to travel? What are some precautions you suggest a family take to be safe while they are traveling?
That's a great question. So I just dragged 4 children through several airports. We got well-fitted masks that my kids liked wearing. So my kids have different preferences, and we actually had them because the most important part about the mask is it has to be one you're willing to keep on your face. So, having that discussion beforehand and level setting that I need you to keep your mask on so that we don't get sick and bring it to our relatives that we're visiting. And just making sure that your masks are ones that you're comfortable with. So we did eat at the airport because we are not robots and we also needed food. But we also made choices about where we're eating. So not in the most dense necessarily restaurant part. We took our food to go so that we could eat in a more isolated part, because we still live in the real world, and we're there. Very many people masked in the airport? No. Did it vary based on the flight? Yes. But even leading up to that journey, knowing that we were going to have to not be sick to be able to take the journey, making sure those 2 weeks before we were being really cautious about the choices we were making was really helpful. It is getting better. We do expect this fall that we're going to see some of these variant-specific vaccines coming out, and I am hopeful that with those coming, so instead of going out and getting a booster for the variant that we had 2 years ago, like flu, we don't get flu vaccine from last year to work for this year. We definitely don't get flu vaccine from 5 years ago to work for this year, because we know flu changes so much. We are going to be in that situation with corona, and we are already seeing the development of these vaccines, so that next time we go get boosters, likely we're going to be seeing ones that are closer to the variants that are spreading right now, and that might do something really good with addressing transmission as well. So I'm hopeful. It is getting better, and we will see what the fall brings. But at least having that barrier for our youngest children is just something that I think a lot of families are really looking forward to.
Do we have any other questions from our audience? Okay, and Kendra Scruggs again. What should someone do who is fully vaccinated, but their doctors are not wanting them to get boosted?
I think that one is probably a question for your doctor directly, because obviously there's more to that situation. It's hard to know.
Okay, so you suggest talking to your doctor and getting your doctor to give you a clearer answer.
I mean, ask why, right? Why are you recommending that I wait? And make sure that you have a clear understanding of if that's what your own specific medical situation is that would cause that. Oh, and I see there is the recommendation or name of mask. So masks are infinite. That's like asking me my favorite corral pattern at this point, because there are so many. And I like the plain white ones on both corral and the masks. But yeah, there's not one specific one. The one that fits your face the most, the one that does not annoy you the most, a KN95 or an N95 are always going to be the highest level of protection available to you. So one of those that fits your face comfortably is the right answer for you.
Okay. All right. As we transition into our segment with our teachers tonight with our candidates for the school board election, we want to thank you again. And Tanisha Banks gave a personal thank you to Dr. Mitchell for your time and knowledge again. Thank you so much for coming on and helping us with this information. Is there a particular website that people can go to find out information if they want to see it for themselves?
Yes, so I can put those links right here. If you're looking at transmission, this is the CDC transmission map. And then this is the CDC kind of community levels, which is a proxy for our healthcare system map. And then you can go to the Georgia one as well. As a note, our state switched to weekly reporting. So we only get an update on Wednesday. So we actually don't know what this week's numbers look like, because we will see them tomorrow. But that's the Georgia information as well. And they all have different amounts of information in different focuses. But I really actually like the CDC presentation, because in one graph you can see hospitalization and you can see cases and you can see that percent PCR positives without having to know which levers to push. So the readability is fairly good. And I have switched what I am looking at primarily because I do like that one better.
Okay, thank you for your recommendations. As always, we value your opinion and your time. Thank you again, Dr. Mitchell, for being on with us this evening. Have a good evening.
Thank you,
Be
yes.
safe. And as we transition into our event for tonight, I would like to give the floor to our PAC member, Shaniqua Levin. Um, Turning this over to you and giving us our instructions on how we should act and all the information we need to have a great, friendly, open, and honest event. Shaniqua.
Thank you for the warm introduction. Hello, everyone. I'm Shaniqua Levin, PAC member, which stands for Political Action Committee. And we are going to have two candidates addressing you tonight because there is a runoff election, which early voting has started. So let's take a look at what the rules are for today. Each candidate will have a 3-minute opening and a 3-minute elevator response. After each question, they will be given 2 minutes to respond. And if they would like to have a rebuttal, they will have 1 minute to rebuttal. And I will also be providing them with a 30-second warning for when their time is almost up. And I will be using my phone when time is up. So they will hear a loud message and sound for when their time is up. If we can now bring on the candidates. Welcome, Dr. Alexis William and Dr. Adrienne Simmons. Thank you both for being here.
Hello, thank you for having us.
You're
Yes,
welcome.
thank you. We're excited.
Yes. So I'm just going to pick someone to go first because we did not do that beforehand. And we will go back and forth and give you both the opportunity to lead off with a question. Just because Dr. Adrienne Simmons has shown up in my box first, we will begin with you. Okay, let me get my timer started. Give me one moment.
Sure.
And please introduce yourself to the people of Gwinnett. You have 3 minutes.
Good evening. My name is Dr. Adrienne Simmons. I am running for school board because I am truly invested in the school system. I have lived in Gwinnett for the last 10 years and have worked in public education for the last 20. I have 2 little ones in the school system, one headed to 1st grade and one headed to middle school. One of the reasons my husband and I moved to Tucker is because of our respect and our value for diversity. We acknowledge it as a strength and know that it brings great value to not just education, but in all aspects of community and life. And so I am very passionate about student success. I've worked as a classroom teacher, as well as a literacy coordinator, an assessment specialist, and program manager for the Georgia Department of Education. I am really wanting to advocate for our teachers. We have teachers leaving at record-breaking numbers because of the conditions in public education. I'm an advocate for our learners, wanting to ensure that their needs are being met, that they're engaged in the curriculum and the learning. And I am an advocate for our community, which is our parents and our businesses and other organizations, and wanting to ensure that we all collaborate and work together to ensure that Gwinnett remains a place where people want to live, work, and play. And so that's just a little bit about me.
Thank you for sharing. And Dr. Williams, you also have 3 minutes to tell us a little about yourself.
Thank you, and thank you to the NAACP, of which I too am a lifetime member at the silver level. But I am a mother of 6. I have 6 beautiful children here in the Gwinnett County Public School System, 3 which are currently still in, 3 have graduated. And I am a licensed attorney. I'm a pastor's wife, but more importantly, I have been serving our community here in the Gwinnett County public area for 21 years in the non-for-profit sector, lending up my time, my talent, my treasure, not receiving a paycheck, but because I'm passionate about making sure that our children are prepared and fully equipped to serve on a global landscape as global trendsetters. God has graced me to be able to earn my bachelor's degree, my master's degree, my Juris Doctorate degree. And in the last 21 years, I've been giving in the non-for-profit sector. 17 years ago, I started the Young Lawyers and Legal Professional Program, which is a program for our students here in the county, where I expose them to all aspects of the legal field. I believe very strongly that our children cannot be what they do not see. So I believe in exposing them. 13 years ago, I started the Youth Leadership Development Scholarship Program. That's a program for Gwinnett County students where we're teaching them community service. We're teaching them student leadership, civics, job readiness, entrepreneurship. 10 years ago, I started the Spring Break College Tours, where I take middle and high school students. It's a 3-day journey. We go downstate Georgia and end up at UGA, because I want these young people to see themselves, envision themselves on these college campuses. I didn't get a chance to do it this year because I'm doing campaigning every day. But most recently, we added the Inner Beauty Pageant Scholarship Program. That's where we're offering to our young ladies qualities and training on inner characteristics, integrity, compassion, community service, those types of things. I'm doing this because it is my responsibility. I feel I have a responsibility to help provide a wholesome, well-rounded education for our children. And so I'm motivated and I'm qualified, and I feel led to preserve and to protect our children's world-class education. And I believe that this is a calling that God has called me on. I'm willing to take the journey on behalf of our children. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we are going to go with our first question, and we'll start with you, Dr. Williams. Our first question is, if elected, what will be your priorities?
If I'm elected, thank you.
You have 2 minutes. Just a reminder, you have 2 minutes.
Okay, thank you for that. Elected into this role, my priorities are threefold. One, to make sure that our children are in safe learning environments. That is so important. As I stated, I'm a mother of 6, and more importantly, we have 180,184 children that are currently enrolled in the Gwinnett County Public School System. And next year, this coming semester, is going to be 183,000. It's important that they're in safe learning environments. It's important that they are able to be in an environment where they are safe enough to learn. That's the first thing. And so to ensure that there's proper protocol and policies in place that enable them to be able to learn safely. And that's protected from outside conditions coming into the school, as well as conditions that may exist inside the school that may hinder their learning. So I'm very in tune on creating specific protocols to make sure that there's an environment that they can feel comfortable enough to understand what the teacher is saying and to take it in. What is also important to me is that our children are mastering the basics in education: reading, writing, arithmetic, STEM, and civics. That's very important to me because we've gone away from that. And it's time to get back to children mastering the basics so that by the time they graduate and walk across that stage, we feel that they're prepared and equipped to take the torch when it's their turn to receive it. And another thing that's important is us retaining our quality educators here in Gwinnett County. Unfortunately, we're losing too much great talent. They're leaving the county altogether, or they're leaving the profession. And that is a hindrance to our students, because when these teachers leave, they take with them thousands of hours of experience, creativity, and our children need this information. They need the experience that these teachers are taking. And so that's why I started the educational.
Thank you. We're going to have to stop you there, but thank you for your response. Okay. Dr. Simmons, we're going to ask you the same question. If elected, what will be your priorities?
Thank you. From day one, I've been running on the same platform, being one of running for TLC. A lot of people associate that acronym with tender loving care, but I also chose that acronym because it represents a culture of care in our schools. Of course, as a learning institution, our priority is to educate our students and our youth, but there are certain things in life that certain needs that need to be met in order for that learning to take place. And care is one of them. And so we need to put into place care for our teachers. If we don't have teachers in place, high quality teachers in place, our students will not receive a high quality education. And so we need to ensure that the social and emotional and the mental health of our teachers, physical health of our teachers is in place so that they're showing up ready to teach our kids from day to day, passionate about it, bringing them their best selves to work each and every day. And so we also need to provide that culture of care for our learners so that they can come to school and be prepared to receive and to interact and to engage in the instruction. If our students are experiencing any type of emotional pulls or challenges outside of the classroom, that comes with them to school each day. And so we need to make sure that they come to a place where they are surrounded by others that they know have a sincere interest in their well-being, that care for them, and that want to see them succeed. And then our community. This past year, the last couple of years, there's been somewhat of a struggle between the parents and the board. And I want to ensure that as a board, as a system, we are embracing all stakeholders. We are listening and responding to all of our stakeholders. And so we really need to instill a culture of care throughout Gwinnett County schools so that we can ensure all of our students reach their full potential.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Dr. Simmons, we will give you the next question. Is there a particular issue that motivates you to serve on the Gwinnett Board of Education? And again, you have 2 minutes.
Well, I will say that in my experience as a parent of a Gwinnett County school student, my daughter's been in the school system for the last 6 years. And I have also spoken to some other parents that similarly felt that their students' individual needs were not adequately met. Even before being on the campaign, and especially since being on the campaign, I've heard from parents that feel as though their students' needs are not being met. And so I sought to serve on the school council. I've been on the school council at my children's school for the last couple of years. And so I was hoping that in that role, I could, maybe leverage some impact. But, being an educator working in the field for 20 years, I've never been self-serving. It's not just about my child. And so I've always wanted to try to work to impact students as broadly as I could. And so I knew if my daughter wasn't having the best experience, I'm hearing from other pockets of parents here and there, I knew it had to be something district-wide that could be addressed, that needed to be addressed. And so I'm really running to ensure that all of our students, no matter what zip code they live in, which school, which cluster they're in, that they reach their full potential and that they have access to equitable resources, high quality teaching, so that they can be prepared to go out into society and to be productive citizens in whatever career or occupation they choose to pursue. I'm just passionate about students reaching their full potential.
Thank you. Thank you. Dr. Williams, we have the same question. Is there a particular issue that motivates you to serve on the Gwinnett Board of Education?
Yes, thank you. This is what I need: quality, content, and character-rich education. I need safe learning environments for our in our schools. We need the retention of our quality educators, and we need to welcome back our parents and teachers to the decision-making tables. After all, our parents are our most important child advocates. And I need this because this is what our parents, our staff, and our stakeholders need for our children. The vision is to restore our Gwinnett County world-class excellence status. And success is measured and monitored, and rankings really help to determine the level of your success or failure. So when we can capture the success or failure, it lets us know where we need to improve. So my goal is to help bring our school system to a higher ranking than where we are now, and the desire is to do it quickly. And how do we achieve this? By refocusing on ensuring a school system that's safe, where our quality and passionate teachers are kept, and a world-class education that focuses on mastering the basics in education: reading, writing, arithmetic, STEM, civics, where those are being taught. So this is what I hope to accomplish, and this is the vision. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And we'll begin the next question with you. What
Excuse me,
plan will you
excuse me a
implement?
second. I'm sorry for
Sure.
interrupting you. My apology. Let me get back on. I'm not quick enough to chime in there and and raise my hand and say, "Hey, I've got a question." Um, yeah. My question. I heard a lot from both of the candidates just now. Specific things that I wanted to ask that they specifically talked about. And because of the comments that you made, I wanted to specifically address you each individually. As a mother of two sons, two African American males who both graduated from Gwinnett County Schools, went on to graduate successfully from HBCUs, and went on to successfully work and live in this community. Um, I've been living part of this school board advocacy for years. I think the next question was for you, um, Dr. Simmons, from some of your responses. I wanted to ask you specifically, you talked about struggles with the board. Um, exactly what type of struggles are you looking to eliminate? I wanted our community to get clarification on this. Can
Sure.
you answer that, please?
So I think you're referring to when I talked about creating a culture of care. There were instances over the last couple of years where at the board meetings, I believe that there were some verbal attacks made against board members. And parents felt that I think particular board member may not have embraced a certain characteristic or embraced a certain characteristic that they did not deem favorable. And so when I say creating a culture of care, I am advocating for breaking down those barriers and really coming together to for the common good of our students. I'm thinking about how we can create a culture where we can be transparent and we can get to know one another and find out how we can pull up our sleeves and work together toward a common goal. And so really, coming into the board, I know that, and I'll be the first to admit, I don't have all the answers, but I do know that parents care about their children's success. And I know that our current board members likewise care about the success of all students. So we have a common goal. And I truly believe that we can work together to accomplish much, and we have, and we will continue to do so. I'm just looking to maximize and just create some processes, put some processes in place that can perhaps make that process, I guess, less challenging maybe than what it has been the last couple of years. I think that if you talk to some board members, they would agree that there have been some challenging times the last couple of years in communicating with some subsets of parents. And so just really wanting to ensure that we have trust and we continue to build on that trust with one another and that we work collaboratively together.
President Poole, can I add to that as well?
Just a moment. Let her finish, and then I can ask you the same question. Okay?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay. Did you finish your response?
Yes, I did.
Okay. I did have another question for you, but I'd be happy to ask you that question also. What types of struggles with the board have you seen? Or this was something that Dr. Simmons intimated to the community. Do you see that there are struggles with the board at this time?
That's addressed to me, correct?
Well, that is addressed to you, Dr. Williams.
Yes. Thank you for that. And thank you for the opportunity to respond to that. There are areas that I certainly see in order for there to be a collaborative partnership that needs to exist between a school board and its constituency, which would be the parents and the teachers and the students. There are certainly areas that have to be tweaked. Just like the NAACP opened their meeting up, you open your meeting up tonight with a powerful prayer. That's one of the things I would like to see changed at the school board in their meetings. I want us to go back to opening up in prayer, because prayer changes things, it changes people, it changes environments. So that's one thing I want to see. I also would like to see where our parents and our teachers and the children, where it's not an adversarial relationship between the board and the stakeholders. It should not be. It should be a collaborative relationship. And that's something that I have specific plans to help introduce, a partnership, because in order for us to win, we've got to win together. And it's not going to happen when there are walls that are dividing groups. That's not going to work. There must be a collaborative partnership. And I have very succinct plans to help make that happen. We do need that. We need it now. We needed it yesterday. And I think once that happens, we'll see a change in the unit. Once the unity comes, we'll begin to see progress in the other areas that are connected to the unity. So thank you for that.
And Ms. Poole, if I could clarify, I don't know if I used
Okay,
the word
just a moment.
struggle. But
Wait a
if
minute,
I-
just a moment,
Mhm.
just a moment. Dr. Williams, are you through?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, would you like to get a 1-minute rebuttal? Is what this is, Dr. Simmons?
Yes, I think I just wanted to clarify. I don't know that I used the word struggle. I am one that I believe in having a growth mindset. And so I do believe that there are areas of growth for the board, as I believe there are areas of growth for myself as an individual. So I don't know if I used the word struggle. If I did, I wanted to emphasize that this is an area of opportunity that I see for the board that we can perhaps target and then developing stronger partnerships and relationships with our parents and community members. It's an area of growth or opportunity. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Do you have a 1-minute retort also, Dr. Williams?
No, ma'am, I'm good. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Well, and I'm going to give a 1-minute rebuttal. As an advocate and mom, going to these meetings since 2010, this room has been very, very toxic. And the numbers in the data show that it hasn't been a place where everyone was excelling and their children were doing their best and being able to excel. So the data for Gwinnett County is not one of excellence. It's not one of everyone being fairly treated and equity across the board for all districts, regardless of your zip code. So I want to make that clear. The data firmly backs that up. So this board, the school board race, that's why it is so important. So with me giving my 1-minute rebuttal, let's move on to the next question. And
we're actually going to go to the chat if you don't mind.
You do have some, and I have one other, and then we can go to the chat from there, because it was in response to something that Dr. Williams said, and it was about mastering the basics. Dr. Williams, what do you consider the basics, especially if we're talking about history? I'm going to start with Dr. Williams, especially if we're going to talk about history and teaching people proper history, as many in Gwinnett County was a county of over 101 languages, diverse cultures, and people from a plethora of cultures and individuals who live here. what basic history are we speaking? Talking about the history of enslavement and teaching this school district that is 1/3 African American, because we have 32% African American, another 33% Latinx, 12% Asian, 18% white people. Are we talking about uh, are we talking about teaching correct American history in Gwinnett County?
Thank you for that question. When I say mastering the basics, I'm talking about ensuring that funding, resources, and attention is focused on doing what education is required to do. Ensure our children are able to graduate with the ability and the foundation in place so that they can be productive citizens, that we can remain competitive as a nation when in comparison on an international level, and that they are helping to give back to the communities that our children are coming from. And so when I talk about mastering the basics, I'm talking about making sure that, one, our children know how to read and write. Let's start there. Let's make sure our children know how to read and write, and that they can do simple arithmetic, that they can master mathematics, that they can be equipped and prepared if they choose not to go to college, because 30% of our students, out of the 180,184 students currently enrolled in the Gwinnett County Public School System, 30% choose not to go to college. And I want to make sure that we have viable alternate avenues in place that will support these 30%, and that number is growing, by the way, support them to be able to support their families, their children, and their grandchildren in alternative career pathways. I want us to make sure that we have programs like my Gwinnett County Elite System, that initiative that I'm planning to institute, that we introduce our children. Why not allow our children be the first, our county be the first county to introduce NFT training, cryptocurrency. A lot of our children enjoy playing games and things like that. Well, let's turn that around.
Fortunately, your time is up. Thank you.
Okay, I still am not clear, because I understand what mastering means, but I did not get an answer on how can you master your education and you not know where you come from or not know your true history. So I still did not hear a response to that. But I will give the go to Dr. Simmons. Dr. Simmons, can you give me information on what mastering the basics means to you in getting subjects for Gwinnett County school children? And does that include mastering the correct history?
Well, I haven't used the phrase mastering the basics in my campaign, but as an educator, I am one that subscribes to students mastering the curriculum, mastering the content, and history, social studies is a part of that content. And so as a former teacher myself, I am an advocate for teaching, for truth telling, for teaching people's truths. In Gwinnett, we are the most diverse county in the state of Georgia, one of the most diverse in the country. And so that means we have a lot of people coming from various backgrounds, linguistically as well as ethnically. And so I believe that to best engage our students, we need to acknowledge that. We need to recognize it, acknowledge it as a value add, and build it into our curriculum. A part of mastering the curriculum is not just identifying what students need to know, but how they're going to learn it. Because we can have a whole list of what students need to know, but if we're not engaging them and meeting their interests, meeting them where they are, they're not going to learn it. So we have to focus on the how. And that goes to the equity piece that you mentioned, Ms. Poole, and that I talked about earlier. It shouldn't matter what zip code you live in, what cluster you're in. We should make sure that we have the materials, the resources, the teachers in place to adequately engage our diverse student body. Our student body is changing. We need to ensure that our teacher workforce is reflecting that, that the strategies reflect that, and that we value what they're bringing, their diversity. And a part of that is teaching their histories.
I'd like to add that rebuttal as well.
Okay, so you have a rebuttal now?
Yes, please. Yes, I
Okay,
do.
are you finished, Dr. Simmons?
I'm finished, yes.
Thank you. Okay, Dr. Williams, your rebuttal.
Yes, thank you. So in addition to the reading, the math, and the writing and the basics, history is a part of that. And in terms of history, I believe that, and I've always said this, that our children must know our history. And that includes the good, the bad, and the ugly. Because if we don't know our history, we're certainly going to repeat it. And so as it relates to history, yes, all of that needs to be taught transparent and nothing hidden. It needs to be out there in the open, and it needs to be transparent, and it needs to be done in a way that we are able to relate to the children that we're teaching. That's very important. We have to understand, meet the children where they are, be frank about what has happened, and so that they're well-rounded students. Thank you.
You're welcome. Dr.
Okay.
Simmons? Is
President
there a
Pearl.
response to that, Dr. Simmons?
No, we can go on. Thank you.
All right. Thank you for that.
Okay, at this time, we're going to open it up to the chat and to all of our audience. So if you have a question, please write it in the chat and I'll be asking them. We are going to start off with Dr. Simmons. If you are not elected to the board, what role will you continue to do to help the entire student success? Ensure the student success.
Sure. So as I have been, I look forward to continuing to support at the school level, whether that's seeking re-election on the school council, just being an involved parent with the PTA, and working with the leaders at Arcado. Earlier, I spoke about one of the reasons why I wanted to even get involved why I wanted to even campaign to be on the board, to be a member of the board. And I talked about my daughter's experience and how I wanted to ensure that her needs were being met. And so I don't want to imply that that the teaching was an issue. We have awesome teachers in Gwinnett County. One of the teachers at my daughter's school won Teacher of the Year this year and is being recognized as Teacher of the Year for the district. And so oftentimes, when we hear about students struggling, sometimes our minds automatically shoots to the teacher. But what I want to do on the board is to make sure, again, that our teachers are supported. That might mean we need to focus on smaller class sizes. I know as a teacher, if you have too many kids in the classroom, it's nearly impossible to meet the needs of all students. It's hard to personalize the instruction and meet the needs of all students. And so I really just want to bring the wealth of knowledge that I've garnered in various positions over the last 20 years to the board, and just helping to think through, well, what are the issues? What are the root causes of those issues? And so I will, if not elected to the board, like I said, I've been working in public education for 20 years. I'll continue to find a way to carve out how I can influence, practices in Gwinnett, whether it's at the school system or participating on a task force. I am open and willing. I'm an advocate. I advocate for teachers, parents, community, whoever, when it comes to education. So I am ready and willing to continue to work in any capacity necessary.
Thank you. Okay, Dr. Williams, we have the same question for you. If you are not elected to the board, what role will you continue to do to help ensure student success?
Yes, I will continue to do what I am currently doing with our Young Lawyers and Legal Professionals program. I will continue to work with our Youth Leadership Development program. I will continue with our annual spring break college tours. I will continue with our Inner Me beauty pageant. And I've already started the plans for incorporating the gentleman's component of our Inner Me pageant, where we're working. We have men that will be working with our young men and pouring into them in a mentorship level. And that also is going to be a scholarship bearing program. So I'm really excited about that. But that will be taking place. I will continue to serve as a pastor's wife alongside my husband in ministry. We have a very powerful youth ministry and working with young people in that aspect. I will also continue to work as an advocate on behalf of our children, as I have been doing, just to be that mouthpiece. I really feel like, just like Esther in the Bible, she was called to serve as a mouthpiece on behalf of an entire generation. I feel that Esther called to serve and to speak on behalf of our children who have a silent voice. They need someone to represent them, who's focused on making sure that they're prepared and equipped to lead us, because we're not going to be here for always. We want to make sure that we're raising up a generation that is able and we feel comfortable passing the torch to them. And that's my goal, my passion. Thank you.
I have a question before we go on again. We heard different things. We're hearing about all the nonprofit and those types of organizations to plug these children into. And I did earlier hear someone talk about being safe. Let's go back into the classroom specifically. And people mentioned safe spaces. Right now, it is data, again, that shows that African American and Latinx children are not safe in the classroom because they are more likely to be sent to alternative schools than their counterparts. As a matter of fact, again, African American students are 30% of the population of the school system, but 56 to 57% of those in alternative schools. Right now, the Southern Poverty Law Center has taken up residents in Gwinnett County, representing children and their families for free because of the overbearing policies of them being expelled from schools. How will you improve discipline disparities among Black and Latinx children in GCPS? And who gets the question first this time? Dr. Williams, how will you make a policy to improve the disparities among Black and Latinx students in GCPS when it comes to the militarism and them being accosted by the school to prison pipeline?
How many minutes do I have for this?
2.
All right, let me try to give you the fast version. Yes, any policy that I support must be what I call CP certified. CP certified, colorblind protection certified. That means every student, regardless of race, creed, color, or even learning needs in our diverse population of students, was created with the ability to learn. And the policy has to represent that. It's our role as educators and advocates and policymakers to really challenge this ability that our children have and to stretch it and to promote and encourage student learning, presenting it as a priority and not as an option. The human brain and our mind and all of its genius and creativity and complexity is far more skillful than we really give it credit for. And when we pass policy that dumbs down learning and fails to challenge our students to stretch beyond the easy and to really strive for that more complex and when what we're doing is we're eliminating the possibility of our children as a whole to remain competitive on a local and an international level. So in order for us to remain competitive on a global level as global leaders in inventions, technology, and the like, we have to pass educational policies that are colorblind protected and that promote cutting edge, challenging, and competitive educational programs for our children. And we need to keep expressing our expectations that our children not just pass these courses, but that they exceed. Because with this outlook and this perspective expected of each of our children, despite the color of their skin or where their learning falls on the learning continuum, we will always see Gwinnett greatness that is produced and presented in the spirit of excellence. Thank you.
Okay. Dr. Williams, let me ask this again, because I'm not clear. My question was about criminalizing our children, that Black and brown children are not safe in GCPS. So I'm not understanding your response to that question. What policies can we make to make sure, again, African American and the Black children are only 30% of the population, 32% of the population, but represent 56% of those who are being criminalized and sent to alternative schools. What policy will you do to stop that upward spiral and criminalizing our children? We live in one of the most racist countries in the world, so this colorblind stuff is not adequate. So if you could please, because this is very important to our audience that we have out here. So if you could please answer that.
Yes.
And I'll give you 2 more minutes. Thank you.
Thank you. This is what I was saying in the sense of the policy that is created that I will support has to be color blind protected. We cannot look at policy. We cannot have one policy for one group of children and have a completely different policy for another group of children. That's what I meant when I said the policy that we pass must not see color. It must see the children. We started what is called our 7 Deadly Sins program. That's a program that we brought into the schools so that the children are fully aware of what we call the deadly sins in education, in legal education, so that they're aware that if you can complete and conduct certain actions that fall in XYZ category, you could be locking yourself up for life. Information like this, our children did not have access to. Other schools had it, but our children did not have access to. So I took the initiative to bring the Georgia, the 7 Deadly Sins program into our schools, because it needs to be education where our children are informed about certain consequences that other children may have access to. And so now that our children are now having access to that, additionally, our teachers, they're not babysitters. And our culture can be toxic to our children through the media. And so we have to further engage more parents to get parental help and assistance and collaboration. We've got to welcome those parents back in. We have to make sure that our parents feel that your voice matters. What you say counts. And that's something that is very important to me, to make sure that we are working collaboratively and fairly. That's why I call it the colorblind protected. We're not seeing color, but we're seeing the needs of those children and catering to those needs. Thank you.
Dr. Simmons, if you would please, can you answer that question for me? Going back to policy, and again, we want to note that the Southern Poverty Law Center has taken up residency in Gwinnett County because the overabundance of Black and brown children being fed into the school to prison pipeline, where there are only 32% African American children, but 56+% are being steered into the school to prison pipeline. Please answer how you will improve the discipline disparities among Black and brown children in GCPS.
Certainly. So some of the policies that I would advocate for and support, number one, being a more diverse workforce. And so if we think about the diversity of our student population, does our workforce reflect that diversity? Research has shown that when students of color have teachers that look like them, the discipline issues decrease. They are not suspended as frequently. They are not put in detention as frequently. And so we have to get into the mindset of increasing the diversity of our workforce. That doesn't just mean diversity in terms of ethnicity, right? We're talking about diversity in terms of gender. How many of our teachers are males? How many Black male teachers do we have in schools? How many teachers do we have that don't speak English as a first language? How many teachers do we have that are of Hispanic ethnicity? We need to think about who our teachers are so that we can ensure that our students are seeing people that look like them in areas that they're successful, that they care about them, that they have, they've gone on to be productive citizens. We need to put people in a place that can serve as mentors and role models for our students. We also need to ensure that our curriculum is culturally relevant. We have to engage our students. What are they interested in learning about? We need to make sure that we're tapping into that. And then lastly, I'm an advocate for parent liaisons. We can put positions in our schools that serve exclusively to support when our parents come up to the school, so that they are engaged in the educational process, so that they are better able to support our students when they come home from school, and so that our students see that there is a strong connection from school to home, and then our students will be more likely to be successful. And so I would say those would be some of the policies that I would advocate for if on the board to address the discipline issues.
I'd like to add to that.
Okay, just a moment, please. Okay, Dr. Simmons, Dr. Williams had 4 minutes. Would you like another minute, or have you been through? Are you through?
I guess if I were to add on in terms of the cultural relevance, I have, in my time as an educator, I believed in culturally relevant instruction. And what that means is you learn the backgrounds of your students, and you build that into the instruction. If students know that first of all, students don't care what you know until they know that you care. My sister-in-law is a special education teacher from Illinois. She had a student, she teaches at the high school level. This past year, she had an African-American student, male student, that told her, you know what, this is the first time in my K through 12 experience that I've had a Black teacher. And so our students, they're very observant, and they pay attention to things like that. They pay attention to who's before them in the classroom. And I don't want to in any way, give the thought that our students can't receive instruction from people that don't necessarily reflect their cultural background or their language proficiency Black background. No, I'm not saying that. But our students, the research has shown that if students do have a teacher that looks like them, or maybe speaks the same language as them, or so has the same associations as they have, research has shown that they will perform at higher levels. Whether or not it's that educators may be holding them to a high standard, or they may be able to engage with them, understand them more. Maybe they're a little more lenient and can really get them to hone in on putting their energy in the right direction. Whatever the case, the research has shown that they're able to get students to perform at higher levels and be less of a discipline issue in the classroom. So again, I'm an advocate for a more diverse workforce and culturally relevant curriculum.
Okay, thank you for that. And at this time, we're going to move on because we have some other questions we need to ask. This is for you again, Dr. Simmons. What plans do you have to reduce class sizes and overpopulation at GCPS? We're finding that the children are back in trying to get adjusted. There has been so many instances. Again, what plans, what type of policies can you bring to the page to reduce class sizes and overpopulation at GCPS?
It's going to take innovation. We have to think outside of the box. With the pandemic coming to an end, we see a lot of districts across the country that are trying to go back to business as usual, and that shouldn't be the case. The pandemic gave us a chance to think outside the box. We were able to see that, yes, can we teach virtually? Yes, we can. Can we improve how we do it? Yes, we certainly can, but it can be done. Since I've been on the campaign trail, I've talked to a parent that her son was struggling in going to the traditional school for high school. He was going to class regular 8 to 3. I think high school might start a little later, 8 to 3. He was struggling academically. His grades were failing. She was able to enroll him in a program at another school where he was able to go to school after hours. He was able to hold a job during the day. He was able to complete some of the coursework from home, and his grades shot up. He got on the honor roll. He, I think, is going on to major in economics when he graduates this past year. And so we have to think outside the box. All of our students don't need to go to school in person from 8 to 3 or whatever hours. We have to start thinking about how we can place our students in the community in apprenticeships and internships, how they can gain some real world relevance experiences. They can apply the learning authentically. We need to think about how we can put those structures in place where they're working in a community, they're working alongside different professions to get a firsthand experience of what a job in a certain path might look like. And so that doesn't mean I need to come and sit in a classroom to experience that. So we really need to be more innovative in our approaches, and that will free up some classroom space, and we can work to make our class sizes smaller.
Thank you for that. Dr. Williams, again, what plans do you have to reduce class sizes and overpopulation at GCPS?
There are many of our core classes that are very heavily overly populated. For instance, I'm thinking in mind right now of a core class that has about 43 students in it. That's a problem. One of the things that I'd like to do is come up with a creative way. We have bus drivers, and they are driving our children to school and back. But then there's a large gap, a window of time where those bus drivers are not activated. Why not bring those bus drivers, especially for the younger and the smaller classes, smaller levels, smaller age groups, into the classrooms to help alleviate the excess and the overcrowding in those classrooms? They're already certified by the county to drive our children. And so why not be creative on those levels, bring them into the classroom and use those bus drivers and other similar paraprofessionals in a more productive way. The children already know them. And so there's a level of respect already there. Let's utilize them in the classroom to help reduce those class sizes. Additionally, specifically in the areas of math and sciences, we are in the process of now in conversation with a group that is working on, specifically for Gwinnett County, bringing in teachers, certified teachers who all have doctorate degrees from key areas in other countries that will be here and can help to eliminate and reduce rather those overcrowding in the core classes. And so that's something that we're working on right now, because it is very true. Too many of our important classes are overcrowded, which is a hindrance to our children's learning, because one teacher trying to teach.
Okay, unfortunately, we have to stop you there.
Okay. All right. Moving on, because
at this point, we only really kind of have time for their what did you call it?
Our elevator speeches.
Yeah.
I have one more question I just got to really get in about bullying, classroom bullying, because many of the parents have been calling the NAACP regarding this topic. And I'll get this in really quickly. Right now, we as an NAACP advocacy group have been getting numerous calls about bullying in the classroom. A lot of us see this as a sign of the times with COVID and being shut down and stressing our children and then getting them back into an environment. Rather than giving dollars, because again, someone noted that many of these issues are budgetary, but rather than giving dollars for mental health professionals to be part of these staffs now, they're increasing the militarized budget for SROs. What would you do to alleviate or policy to enact bullying, to alleviate bullying and other mental health issues that are popping up or showing itself in our schools today? That's for you, Dr. Williams.
Okay. When there's bullying going on, the impact of that is that it blocks our children's ability to be able to feel safe enough to learn. So that's a major problem. And I have been at all of these school board meetings, and I'm hearing repeatedly the parents complaining. I've heard the children stand up and complain about the issues of bullying. And so that is something that is near and dear to my heart, that we have to address this. It has to be done on a couple of different ways. One, I support and recognize the need for additional counselors in our schools to utilize their expertise as a form of intervention in the disciplinary process. Currently, our Gwinnett County Public School counselors are too few in number, and they are spread too thin with the number of students that they have to oversee. And we use here in Gwinnett County, we use a formula to determine the number of counselors for each school, but that formula needs to change, because with an increase in our school counselors, we can help mitigate some of the behavioral issues that are presenting in our schools, and then to address any unfair disparities in discipline based on race. Preventative measures such as implicit bias training and bullying response training can be incorporated really for teachers and administrators as a viable solution. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have to catch the plane at 8:30.
Dr. Simmons, we have one more. We'll give you a chance to close. Dr. Simmons, if you can answer that.
Certainly. So we really need to bypass the superficial behaviors that students are exhibiting, and get to the root cause of why are students bullying? What is the driver of that behavior? And so, yes, there is a place for counselors. There is a place for social workers to support families. There's also a place for teachers to support with implementing strategies in the classroom to help students to learn how to cope, how to resolve conflict. Our students need to know and understand that struggles will come. As adults, struggles continue as you grow into adulthood, but there is a way to handle that struggle or that conflict that might arise at some point. There are techniques and strategies that can be applied to help navigate those times in life. And so I think that we need to focus on the root cause of why students are behaving the way that they are, and work to identify the solutions that are going to best support students with navigating those instances when they arrive. Our students need coping mechanisms, and they need those modeled for them, and they need to be explicitly taught those mechanisms. It's not something that we just kind of learn by absorption, but they need to be taught those coping mechanisms. And I think that would be a good place to start.
Okay, thank you. We're going to move quickly because, again, Dr. Williams says she has to leave, and we want to start with her to give her 2 minutes as to why you should be the candidate for District 4 Board of Education in Gwinnett County School System. Dr. Williams.
Yes, thank you. These last 3 years or so, we have gone dangerously off course. I feel that in our Gwinnett County Public Education, and I feel that the ship has, like we say, left the dock, but I don't think it's too late for us to change captains and to make a course correction. Family and friends, in closing, I need you and you need me, and we need each other. Together as a unified force, as a collaborative partnership, we're going to help steer this ship back on course. I advocate very strongly for keeping the main thing, which is to protect and preserve that world-class education that our children rightly deserve, where they're mastering the basics in education: reading, writing, arithmetic, STEM, and civics, where our parents are seen as collaborative partners, and where policy is put in place to ensure that our children are being safe and protected, and that they are focusing and what is important is the focus of our attention. And I would love to invite you, love to earn your vote on June the 21st. You can visit me at votealexiswilliams.com. And don't forget, June 21st, vote Alexis Williams for School Board District 4. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Williams. And Dr. Simmons, please.
Yes. So I just wanted to end the evening by by stating that I'm the candidate with that is for the people. I have from the start said that I am one that is leading with and for TLC, teachers, learners, and community. I am not one that is looking to speak my personal experiences. I am one that wants to gather the experiences of all stakeholders, regardless of your language proficiency level. I am interested in hearing your story if it means that we need to have translators in place to collect your story so that we can make sure that your needs are being addressed as well as a parent, as a student. I hear our students speaking out at board members about wanting to learn more about people that look like them or that have had similar experiences that they have had. And so if you are wanting a candidate that values diversity, that recognizes it as an asset, then I am the one. I have a doctorate in educational leadership, and I have led at the school, state, and district level. And so if you want someone that will bring expertise to the role of board member, I am also the candidate for you. And so I do ask that you go to my website, adriansimmons.com, to learn more about me. And again, the election is June 21st. Early voting has begun. Please make a plan to vote early if you can by Friday, and I would be honored to have your vote.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. It looks like Dr. Simmons has left. It's 8:30, but she was given her opportunity.
Dr. Williams.
Excuse me, Dr. Williams. Dr. Williams has left. We want to again thank you. Thank you for coming. We would like to thank Dr. Williams for coming. It got really interesting there for a moment. And Shaniqua, do we have any announcements regarding the upcoming election? Some of the things that the PAC is doing?
Well, just as a reminder, early voting is currently happening, and the last day to participate in early voting will be on June 17th. You can vote from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. And then again on election day, which is June 21st, you'll also be able to vote from 7 to 7.
And I want to give kudos to the NAACP PAC Political Action Committee. They have been calling, texting, and canvassing during this election cycle. And our PAC chair, Edward Paul, has been doing a wonderful job. We want to just acknowledge all who have taken part in getting this event together tonight and working towards getting information out to our community. Again, Shaniqua, thank you so much. Also, other than this election coming up on June 21st, we want to make sure to invite you out to Thrasher Park in Norcross. Come and meet some of these candidates. We hope to invite them to give you some more information. We are working with the city of Norcross on Sunday the 19th from 12 o'clock to 5. Bring your mask. We will be outdoors. Bring your mask. We want to make sure that everyone is safe, enjoyable. We have a lineup of artists, R&B artists. We have advocates speaking about the holiday, about advocacy for us today. We have Gen Z in the house. We have a millennial in the house. Come on out, hear them. We have food trucks galore. We have the park packed with as many vendors as possible. So come on out, hear some more about this election. We look forward to you participating. I know we want to thank those that who again put in questions for this event. There was a lot again and not enough time, but we were thankful that they did give us the time that they gave for tonight. Shaniqua, let me turn it back over to you. Any other thoughts on this process, the candidates, the nonpartisan election, that this went from party to nonpartisan? Any thoughts, comments?
Just thanking the candidates for giving us their time.
Okay. We just want to remind you, too, that this was a partisan election, but now nonpartisan. So that's very important. I want you to make sure that when you vote, that you must pull out a party ballot to go all the way down the ballot and then get to the nonpartisan section. Again, you must pull a party ballot if you want to vote for the others who are running in this runoff. We have our lieutenant governor. We have the secretary of state race. We have the secretary of labor. In Gwinnett, we have the state court judge race, and in District 4 in education in Gwinnett for the Board of Education, we have District 4 that we presented tonight. Please call up someone, come out, cast your ballot, give your voice. With that being said, our hearts and mind are clear. The beloved community, the Gwinnett NAACP, join us, go to our website, become a member. We are always looking for volunteers. We are always looking for leaders. We thank you for tonight. May God bless you and keep you. And please be safe and well. Good night.